All right, screw it. We're just gonna deal with the lag.
Community. Welcome back to Coffee House Crime. My name is Adrian, and in today's video, we'll be talking about the twisted case of Chris Benoit. Chris was a heavyweight wrestling champion.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh. This guy came back. He said, "All right, I'm back. Why is Chris Benoit on the screen?" Yes, we're watching the case of Chris Benoit. Everyone's saying I'm gonna cry. Screw it.
Whose time in the spotlight may have led to the untimely end of multiple lives. But what exactly happened to him? Today we study his story and his psychology. And by the way, I post solved, unsolved, and strange cases here on a weekly basis. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to Coffee House Crime. And so, with that said, pull up a seat, grab a coffee, and sit back.
Pop-Tarts,
this is
not
the
coffee.
Case of Chris Benoit.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Our case today is a little different to our usual structure, as in this video we'll be looking into the life of professional wrestler Chris Benoit. Chris lived a life unlike many I cover here. He was born on the 21st of May
I don't have
1967
tissues.
in Montreal, Canada, to parents Michael and Margaret Benoit. But shortly after this, his family made the move to the city of Edmonton. From a very young age, Chris's passion in wrestling blossomed. He followed wrestling religiously, which led to his childhood fantasy of one day becoming a wrestler. And at the young age of 12, Chris began his training journey in order to achieve his dream. His parents supported his decision wholeheartedly. His father liked buying him his first set of weights, so the young Chris could learn discipline and begin weight training. It's around this time that Chris discovered his idols within the wrestling community, having seen Tom Billington, also known as Dynamite Kid, and Bret Hart perform at local matches in Edmonton. Eventually, his dreams became true, and he actually ended up training with Tom, even adopting some of his fighting mannerisms and signature moves.
So all of this, so far, all of this is looking like good childhood, no traumatic childhood, nothing too bad happening in his life. Okay, we on a good pace.
Diving headbutts. So, Chris's teenage years were filled with hard work, discipline, and training. He began work with the Hart family in their so-called Hart Family Dungeon, which, over the years, has produced several notable wrestlers. And all of this training paid off, as in 1985, at the age of 18, Chris made his professional debut in a Stampede Wrestling promotion. His first match was a tag team match, in which he won alongside Rick Patterson, finishing this game with a sunset flip, pinning his opponent. And from here, his wrestling career rocketed. He ended up splitting his time between Canada and Japan, spending months at a time competing in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And after this, he moved to Mexico and then Germany, gaining experience and notoriety to debut in a professional
traveling around the world.
Throughout his career, Chris achieved numerous titles from the most prestigious wrestling associations, such as World Championship Wrestling, or WCW, and WWF, which is now known as WWE. Chris's performance peaked in the year 2004, where he officially won the World Heavyweight Championship.
Nice!
And no doubt, Chris had an astonishing career. But what about his personal life? Chris married twice within his 22-year wrestling career. First to Martina in 1988, with which he fathered 2 children, David and Megan. However, this marriage wouldn't last. Martina wanted a more simpler lifestyle, something Chris couldn't give her. She didn't want to be in the spotlight for the rest of her years.
Hold on. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Did she marry him pre-wrestling career or post-wrestling career? Because how are you going to marry a wrestler and then say you don't want to be in the spotlight? That don't make sense. But anyways.
Martina also claimed that Chris allegedly also had a problem with steroid use, which often made him irate and hard to deal with.
Okay,
although
that makes sense.
This side of him, Martina still loved Chris dearly. And when off steroids, he was described as one of the sweetest men you would ever meet. The relationship was strung along until the year 1997, where the couple
Some things just don't work.
However, this wasn't as clean as the media would like to make you to believe. As in
Someone said wrestlers aren't always famous at first. That's not what I said, though. I didn't say he was famous. I said he's a wrestler, and you're saying you don't want to be in the limelight. Like, regardless, even if he's not famous, his name is gonna be known, and you're always gonna be known as said wrestler's wife. Kind of like, you guys know the whole situation with Steph Curry and Ayesha Curry, how Ayesha Curry is coming out and she's so pissed because she's literally just known as Curry's wife, basically. Like, it doesn't matter if they're famous or not. You're always going to be known as that person's wife. So, someone said that smirk. Y'all talk about the smirk. Look at this lady's face. She's terrified. She's just like... Alright, let me stop. Let's keep watching. It's not funny.
1987, Chris started an affair with female wrestler Nancy Sullivan. Nancy was the wife of Kevin Sullivan, a fellow
say he smirked because he took his lady from her husband? Damn.
It's no secret that wrestling is all part of a show, with a high level of theatrics and implied drama involved.
Right.
On screen, the love triangle between Chris, Nancy, and Kevin was initially staged, but eventually, Kevin realized that the situation was becoming all too real behind the scenes. A situation that would one day lead to heartbreak. The affair led to Nancy divorcing Kevin before embarking on an official relationship with Chris.
Dude, what is this? Just her personality? Why is she always making this face? Why is she always making this face? She's evil. So says she's a heel. What does that mean? A heel? Yeah, no, cheating is bad. Cheating is bad, guys. Big red flag. I feel like they shouldn't... I don't think anything relationship-wise should be put into a WWE script for this exact reason. It opens the door, sort of, for other things. Oh, heel is a bad guy in wrestling. Okay, my bad. She's the bad guy. She evil as hell. We could see that.
The rather complicated situation led Nancy to hang up a wrestling kit for good. And instead, she would take a back seat, changing her career path to book and manage plans for her new partner. Chris and Nancy's relationship would jump from strength to strength, and in the year 2000, they would eventually marry, before welcoming their first and only son into the world, Daniel Benoit.
Aww.
Happiness would follow the family for some time.
Oh, that baby's so cute! Look how cute he is! Oh.
Nancy filed for a divorce. Unfortunately, for similar reasons to Chris's first wife, Martina. Chris worked hard to keep his marriage above water.
Wait a second. How he just gonna drop that bomb on us? He was just like, hold on. He was just like, wrong song. I don't know. He was just like, oh yeah, their relationship is so beautiful, so lovely. And then she divorced him. What? What happened? I mean, they did say because of similar reasons, but like...
intervention from their families, he genuinely seemed to realize the consequences of his behavior. As a result, Nancy eventually gave him another chance.
Okay.
It's no secret that the abuse of testosterone and steroids are rife within several fitness communities. From Olympic team controversy all the way down to your local gym, people often abuse it. This was no different in the wrestling community. People who often want to be big, mean, and menacing often achieve their goals through artificial means. One of the most well-known and well-documented side effects of steroid use is roid rage, and potentially this could be linked to Chris's anger management problems with both of his wives. Wrestlers also face a range of other health problems too. They put their bodies through constant physical trauma, and they endure more hits than any human should on a frequent basis. Touching upon the more critical areas, this includes strikes to the abdomen, the face, and more specifically the head. This continued abuse of their bodies can often have serious health complications, especially when it comes to critical areas such as a wrestler's head. But Chris wasn't afraid to use his own body as a battering ram. Although Chris would endure these blows on a very regular basis, he would never seek medical attention after his fights, and instead he took the brunt of his pain alone.
Wow.
This was arguably a foolish move.
That kind of, yeah.
In hindsight, it's now speculated if Chris maybe had frequent, if not continuous concussions as a result of these moves.
Yeah, like why would you not seek medical attention? It's really important for you to get checked out after constant concussions. You know, your brain is smacking against your skull. Like that could also lead to medication addictions, like opioids and things like that, because you're trying to get away from the pain. So he basically said, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like, what is wrong with him? He didn't protect his head off the diving head, but like you're supposed to. Yeah, they like, don't they like tilt it forward or something like that? But still, like not seeking medical attention is crazy.
This combination of drug usage and physical damage to the human body are just two of several reasons why being a wrestler has a lower than average life expectancy when compared to other occupations. And tragically, Chris was no stranger in seeing these consequences firsthand. Throughout Chris's career, he became close to many of his peers. He was known to be friendly, jovial, and a good sportsman.
Yeah, no, that's crazy if they don't seek medical attention.
While he was staying in
Japan.
That's
dangerous.
Eddie and Chris were extremely close friends, but sadly, in November of 2005, Eddie suddenly passed away at the age of 38. He was found in a hotel room with his toothbrush in hand. The man had suddenly succumbed to heart failure.
What?
This man was instrumental to Chris. In fact, his death hit Chris harder than anything else in his life.
I was gonna say that was his friend. Imagine how that could have felt.
I know that you're in a better place, and I know that you're looking down on me right now. I want you to know that I love you.
It's clear to see that Chris was deeply affected by his friend's death, and following this loss,
man, can you imagine what that did to
Chris was never the same after.
Freeze frame. What is this wingspan? Bro has T-Rex arms. Okay. Anyways, like I was saying, bad moment. That was horrible timing for me to say that. But no, seriously, that is so sad. Can you imagine how tough that was on him? He literally lost his friend. Oh. I'm already gonna cry. Someone say he's about 5'11". That seems short to you guys, but that's still tall to me. He's a whole foot taller than me. Yeah, oh my gosh, I can only imagine. That's probably what really, like, he probably had a lot of stuff going on, but I guarantee that's probably what really pushed him over the edge.
Afterwards, falling into a deep depression that would follow him through until 2000.
Yeah, I believe that's probably what pushed him over the edge.
On June the 19th, 2007, Chris faced off against Delia Burke, and Chris would go on to win the match. However, he seemed a lot less charismatic and much more out of character. A strange coincidence, as little did everyone know, that this match would be the last time that Chris would ever perform again. Less than 1 week later, on the weekend of the 23rd of June, the wrestler was due to make appearances at other events. However, he would cancel his Friday appearance, claiming that his son Daniel and his wife Nancy were severely ill with food poisoning, and he was busy taking them to the hospital. He insisted to his agent that he would board a flight the next day for his appearance at the ECW Heavyweight Championships. He was scheduled to work with a man named Chavo Guerrero, the nephew of his now dead close friend Eddie Guerrero. However, as Saturday rolled around, Chavo received a very strange voicemail from Chris. He therefore decided to call him back.
That was strange. So I called him right back. And I go, hey man, are you all right? I'm fine, man. Like I said, I just had a real hard weekend, you know, and just, you know, I had to go take him, you know, Daniel and Nancy to the hospital. And I'm like, oh, okay, man. Well, I'm here. Okay, man. Okay, cool. So then hung up. And that was the last I actually talked to him.
The two had a rather sporadic conversation, which mostly consisted of multiple phone calls and voicemails. Chavo eventually concluded that Chris would arrive at Houston Airport on Sunday at around 8 AM, where Chavo would then pick him up for their public event. One thing Chavo did find strange was the way in which Chris ended the call. He put great emphasis in saying, "Hey Chavo, I love you." Now, Chris and his fellow wrestlers would often say this to each other, but the way in which he said it this time was different.
That's something, do you guys realize when someone's close to dying or something's close to happening, you can almost always tell? You can hear it in their voice, see it in their face, see it in their body language. He heard him say I love you even though they've said it a million times, and he just knew something was wrong. Brace yourself. I'm trying. I'm trying, but you guys are scaring me. Maybe I'm not ready for what's actually coming. You really gotta pay. That's what I'm saying. Like, you really have to, like, care about what people are saying and you know what I'm saying? You have to pay attention to someone that you really care about. It's kind of like when people say, check on your happy friends because they're really the saddest. You can't really tell unless you're, like, really paying attention to them. But yeah, let me watch. You guys are, my heart's beating fast and my chest is tight because you guys are trying to say brace yourself.
But with their schedule now supposedly confirmed, Chavo tucked himself in for the night, ready to pick up Chris from the airport at 8 AM. However, at 3:53 AM that very same morning, Chavo was abruptly woken up to a very energetic mobile phone. The alert was a text message from Chris, which read, "The dogs are in the enclosed pool area. garage side door is open. Just 30 seconds later, he received the very same text message, but this time from Nancy's phone. The dogs are in the enclosed pool area. Garage side door is open. This was followed by a new text message from Chris saying, "My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane."
Wait. Why would he send the message twice? I mean, I understand sending it from his phone. Why did he also send it from hers? Okay.
215. Chavo was obviously perplexed by these messages. They were very strange. But it was 4 a.m. in the morning, and he was going to see Chris in a few hours anyway. And so, something he would later regret, Chavo went back to sleep.
Why would you? Wait. Why would you go back to sleep? What? What is happening? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't want to keep pausing, but it's like I'm question mark. Why would he go back to sleep if you've seen those messages and it was alarming? I wouldn't go back to sleep. Like, I get it's 4 a.m. and you're tired, but I would be like, what the hell is going on? So I'd probably maybe call him, maybe call the cops to do a wellness check or something, you know? Weird.
Morning. Very little did Chavo know that he wasn't the only person to receive these cryptic messages. They were also sent to 4 other colleagues and co-workers, all saying the same thing or similar. And so, as dawn slowly eroded the night's darkness away, the morning sun rose along with Chavo Guerrero, who was now waiting for Chris at Houston Airport. By 8:28 a.m., Chris's flight had supposedly arrived. However, as time crept by, he was nowhere to be seen. Minutes turned into an hour, then 2 hours, then 3. Surely Chris wasn't being held up for this long. Chavo came to the conclusion that this was a no-show. Chris had already missed both his Friday and Saturday appearances, so this was just another one. As WWE was alerted to Chris's disappearance, they reached out to understand what was going on. They called his home phone and then his cell phone, but there was no answer. And after checking all local hospitals, still nothing. They therefore decided to leave a voicemail instead.
Hey Chris, it's Ann from the office, just trying to get in touch with you. It is Sunday evening, I think about 7 o'clock, so we're hoping everything is okay, so if you can call me on my cell phone.
By 11 p.m, the team had no idea as to where Chris was, and sadly, none of them were made aware of his strange text messages until noon the next day. Those who had received Chris's text messages had been discreetly quiet, thinking that they were doing him a favor by covering for him. But unfortunately, they had no idea as to what was actually going on. Immediately after being notified of these messages, Chris's agent contacted Fayetteville police, where a welfare check was then requested.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That should have been done.
My name is Dennis Fagan. I'm a retired detective in New York City. I run the security for World Wrestling, and one of our wrestlers that lives down there is missing. And he told me to say we need a welfare check done. Yesterday he was supposed to show up at a pay-per-view and never got on the plane, never showed up. They've tried to reach his wife, Nancy. She doesn't answer. They tried to call his house. It's out of character for him. So at 3 o'clock this morning, there was a message left for one of the other wrestlers, and basically it says, the dogs are in the backyard, the back door is open, goodbye. And that was it.
Lieutenant Larry Alden was the first officer on the scene. Larry already knew of Chris, seeing him at the gym a couple times per week, but nothing more than that. Making his way to the Benoit family property, he spoke to their neighbour, Holly. She made the offer to secure the family dogs, as she would often look after them while the family were away. Larry agreed. Letting herself in with a key trusted from the family, she stepped in to secure the 2 German Shepherds while Larry waited outside. However, just several minutes later, Holly sprinted out from the house, screaming frantically. While inside, she had found Chris's son, Daniel, and he was dead. Police stormed the property, and upon inspection, they would also find the bodies of Nancy and Chris. Nancy was found in the upstairs bedroom, her hands and feet bound. Her body had been wrapped in a towel, with a Bible placed next to her. The cause of her death was ruled as strangulation. Daniel was found in his own bedroom, and unlike his mother, he had not been bound, nor did he have any external injuries. This suggesting that he was suffocated rather than strangled. A Bible had also been placed near his body. And downstairs, in his own home gym, was the body of Chris Benoit. He was found hanging from the top of his lateral pull-down machine. The WWE was notified of the discovery, and the house quarantined as a crime scene. However, upon further investigation, they found no external interference to the household. There was no forced entry. Upon close examination of the bodies, it became evident that all three of them had died at different times. Authorities concluded that Nancy had died first on Friday the 22nd of June. Toxicology reports found alcohol in her body, and it appeared that she had struggled against her assailant. Daniel was likely murdered the next day on Saturday. He had been sedated with Xanax, and it's likely he was unconscious at the time of his death. And finally, it appeared as if Chris had taken his own life the following day on Sunday. He had killed his wife, and then his son, before turning on himself.
Whoa. Pause before we continue. What? What happened? Wait, okay. First of all, it played out between 3 days. 3 whole days. He murdered his wife. For what reason, we have no clue. Yet. Maybe they'll say it. We don't know. We don't know any motives yet. But he murdered his wife. And then he gave his son Xanax to, I'm assuming, knock him out or calm him down or something. And then he killed his son the next day. And I'm assuming he took his life the day after that because he obviously probably couldn't live with it. He didn't want his son to feel it. Okay, but I guess the big question mark is, why did he kill his wife to begin with? Again, maybe they'll say it, but that's the big question right there. In his mind, it was a mercy kill. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I get it. Okay, fine. He may have killed his son because he didn't want his son to live with, the fact that he murdered his mom. And then he obviously killed himself out of guilt. Why his wife? I don't... What snapped? Like, okay.
And the wrestling community as a whole were mortified and devastated by the news. And before learning of these tragic circumstances, WWE prematurely aired a 3-hour tribute to Chris Benoit, celebrating the man and his accomplishments. But the very next day, after learning of his actions, they backtracked on this decision.
Yo, that's not funny, but like, can you imagine? They released something like giving him tribute, like thinking he just died, but then learned the circumstances. They're like, oh crap, we gotta undo this. Oh my gosh.
With despair over the loss of a wrestling champion, anger and disgust danced simultaneously over the knowledge of his actions against his own wife and son. Confusion ripped throughout the international community, and many were left unable to comprehend Chris's actions. As expected, opinions over the matter spread like wildfire. And the main question left in the middle of all of this was why?
Right.
Why did Chris claim the lives of his own wife and son? The question, as a whole, is extremely difficult to answer, and putting it short, Chris is no longer around to share his thoughts or reasoning. As with any celebrity death, conspiracy theories started to crop up, one being the work of an old rival, one being a government setup, and the other being a home invasion. In short, there were many people who couldn't believe that Chris, someone they admired, was capable of doing such despicable things. And while conspiracy theories won't be entertained, there are a few key factors worth mentioning. Chris was a regular steroid user, which is a very common problem within the wrestling industry. But his actions were not consequential of steroids. His actions were methodical and committed over multiple days, not symptomatic of roid rage. Toxicology reports also concluded that the only testosterone found in his body were at therapeutic levels, not enough for adverse side effects.
So
which
we can't
leads us
even
with one
blame
other
that.
theory, one which has become much more prominent since the time of Chris's death. And of course, I'm talking about his psychological condition. Chris was well known to take an absolute beating in the ring. He would often slam his head down onto people from the top rope, and was regarded as one of the only wrestlers who could take a metal chair to the back of the head. This repetitive physical trauma to Chris's head had indeed caused physical and psychological damage. Brain scans, which observed the condition of Chris's brain, showed that he had severe chronic traumatic encephalopathy, also known as CTE, which in short is a progressive and fatal brain disease associated with repeated traumatic brain injuries, including concussions and repeated blows to the head. In fact, Chris's brain was in such poor condition that the neurosurgeon who studied his brain concluded that the damage caused to his brain was reminiscent of an 85-year-old patient with Alzheimer's. It's worth mentioning that as modern science advances, more and more data suggests that traumatic brain injuries lead to a myriad of problems. This includes cognitive problems such as reasoning and judgment, executive functions such as poor decision-making, behavioral changes including difficulty with self-control and risky behavior, and emotional changes such as depression, anxiety, mood swings, anger, and even lack of empathy. Many of these changes, when enabled in the right format, could lead to atrocities such as murder. Chris's brain was compared to that of 4 retired NFL players, all of which had also suffered from repeated head trauma. And, not so coincidentally, all 4 ended up sinking into depression, violence, and self-harm. Whether or not Chris's actions were a result of a medical condition, depression, rage, or otherwise, we will never fully know. However, all of the evidence available suggests that this man ultimately lost the fight with his own mind. The only thing that is certain in this story is the tragedy behind 2 innocent people who lost their lives that weekend. In a case such as this, it's easy to focus our story on the perpetrator who just so happens to also be a celebrity. But just as important, if not more important, were the lives of Nancy and Daniel Benoit. A loving and supporting mother who gave her career for her husband, and a young 7-year-old boy at the very beginning of his life were murdered by the one man they depended on the most. In a dark, terrifying, and confusing world, Chris Benoit should have protected Nancy and Daniel from danger. And from a psychological perspective, who knows how much of Chris actually stood in front of them on the weekend their lives were snuffed out.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. I feel like, personally, this is why contact sports are so terrifying. Like, if we're speaking honestly, football, boxing, wrestling, anything that requires you to use your head is the scariest thing in the world. I think if my child came to me and told me that they want to do something like that, you know, boxing, anything like that, I would support them, but I think I would be terrified. I can't even. Like someone said, your brain is so sensitive, and to mess with it like that, just one small thing happens to your brain, and your life is ruined, you know? Like, it's so sad, man. Like, obviously he still murdered his wife and son. We can't look away from that, but at the end of the day, it 100% wasn't his fault. You know, like, it wasn't his fault. he oh god, that is ridiculously sad, man. Oh, so I'm so sorry. No, it's okay. I mean, it was a good watch. I like watching cases like that, stories like that, and we stayed on topic with the wrestling stuff. So that's so sad, guys. I can't. That is so sad. I just don't. I don't get it. Like, not your brain could get messed up physically, mentally, psychologically, like you said. There's so many chemical imbalances, concussions, anything. It's like he still did what he did, but at the end of the day, it was because of how his life played out. Like I said at the beginning, he didn't have a traumatic childhood. He had people that loved him. The only decision I could say he made that was bad is the steroid and the testosterone use, obviously. But other than that, like, they said that wasn't even anywhere near the cause. Like, can you guys just imagine? Because again, we'll never know the motive. We'll never know what really happened. But can you imagine? He sat there for 3 whole days, 72 hours before he took his life. Like, he killed his wife and he sat with that all day. Then he killed his son and sat with that all day. And then he took his own life. Like, can you even imagine what was going through his head at that moment? Someone said there's no excuse for what he did. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there's never going to be an excuse. You know, but it's just, it's tough. How do you hide that for 3 days? I mean, think about it though. No one checked on him. Dude, he called that Chavo guy and he didn't even bother checking on him. He didn't bother calling the cops. Nothing. He didn't think anything of it. He probably could have maybe even saved the little boy if he acted quick enough. But it's so sad. He killed his wife with his wrestling finishing move too. See, that's how you know there was definitely something going on in his brain. Because why else would he have done something that extreme? But, very sad story. That breaks my heart. It really does. I was thinking, honestly, when they first said something about him murdering his wife and child. Don't blame Chavo, he innocent. I'm not saying he's not innocent, I'm just saying. But I will say when they first said something about that, I thought about his first wife and his 2 kids with them and kind of how they dodged a bullet. I was really thinking of the blessing in that. I was really sitting here thinking, like, that first wife and her 2 children, imagine she would have took him back the way his current wife did. If she would have took him back, I don't even want to imagine. And then his son was autistic. Okay, we're not going to talk about this anymore. We're going to move on.